Hi everyone, it's Manda here, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to a really good friend of mine, Kevin Paul, who many of you know. He's quite a famous yacht captain from sailing boats and has sailed some pretty awesome boats around the world. But he's also doing some really cool stuff, and something I'm trying to focus on in this show is introducing you to people in yachting who are stepping outside the box and really making a global impact with their ideas and visions. And Kevin's one of them. He came up with this amazing idea, which I'm going to let you hear about from him. But first of all, Kevin, do you want to introduce yourself, say who you are, why you're here, and then we'll talk about your amazing new idea that's just had a massive launch today.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Paul. As Amanda says, I usually work as a yacht captain. Currently running Scorpione of London, which is a 46-meter Baltic in Palma. Been doing it for about 27 years now, so I should be getting good at it sometime soon, I think. But the reason I'm here today is I've started an app called Ramped, and it's specifically to help disabled people with mobility issues. What it is, it's similar to, say, TripAdvisor, but for people with disabilities. So it's free to download. Just launched today on Android, actually, which is very exciting, and on App Store. So what you do is you download it, and then if you go to a venue, you get the opportunity then to rate that venue on its accessibility, wheelchair friendliness, facilities, etc. And that all gets stored on our database so that the next time somebody goes to that venue or goes to the app to check out the venue, your ratings are then visible. So instead of then getting like the Google Maps ratings, they see. And that was a phone call.
No, I was just putting us live. I want everyone to see we're live.
Sorry?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just getting it on live so lots of people can follow this.
Okay, all right. No, my phone just rang as well.
Oh.
So that's the basic gist of it. I mean, it really is a travel app for disabled people. And I started this program almost 5 years ago, actually. I was kind of inspired I have three friends who ended up, from different walks of life, ended up in wheelchairs and still, very sociable people and like getting out. And it was getting difficult. Sometimes we end up carrying wheelchairs up and down stairs and things like that, which, shouldn't really happen in the developed world anymore, but happens a lot of the time off the beaten track, the places we travel to. So that was the inspiration.
Yeah, I'm covered in goosebumps actually, because I'm surprised no one thought of it before you, because it's such a long time coming. I've got a couple of friends in wheelchairs, and the number of times where I didn't realize how unfriendly the world was to wheelchairs, especially more adventurous ones. And the number of times where I've got to carry them into restaurants, let alone nightclubs and even public toilets. One experience I had with a really good friend of mine was in London, and London I found was very wheelchair friendly, which I was surprised at, because I thought that it'd be easy to get through the tube station. Some tube stations don't have a lift that you can easily find. And I had someone on my back one day, and then we had to leave all our luggage down the bottom of the steps, and then the wheelchair, and it was so hard.
Yeah, it can be. And I mean, as you say, that's London. My experiences are, of places in the Caribbean, here in Mallorca, even Turkey, where one of my friends was Turkish, so I was spending time with him there. And he had a pretty modern chair with all the different mod cons, but still, you can't go up and down stairs, can you? So that was instrumental in this whole idea.
And what people don't realise, something, so many people in wheelchairs seem so capable. Sometimes people don't know how to help, or how important them getting somewhere in a hurry is. I was traveling a while ago, and I met this incredible girl. I was in a foreign country, and I was walking through the lobby, and I noticed this girl was crying in the lobby, with a glass of wine, and I didn't want to cry, but I couldn't help but notice. And then I walked past again, and I heard her say on the phone to someone, "Oh, now peeping toms are staring at me." I still hadn't seen the chair, and then before I even noticed the chair, I thought, I'm just going to go and say hi, and is there anything she needs? So I sat down, and it was only after 5 or 10 minutes of talking to her, I saw the chair. And she was crying because she was, an international speaker and traveling around speaking about her life experiences. And she said every single hotel, it was the fifth hotel she'd been in that night, that didn't, and they put her on the fourth story. There was no lift. And, she said, it was now 12 o'clock at night or something. I just got in from a flight, and she'd been moved 5 times. None of them had access for the bathrooms. She couldn't get herself off the chair and easily into the bathroom. And what people don't realise is that many of these people have to self-catheterise. So an alarm goes off on their phone every few hours. And if they're in a public place, they've got a certain amount of time to get to a bathroom, before they get really uncomfortable, which can also make them quite sick. And so it's not just a matter of them it's a matter of urgency sometimes. And they've already factored into that alarm that maybe it'll take 20 minutes to find a bathroom. But there's just so much we don't really get. And, the living in the wheelchair is one thing, but it's all the things they have to do, for daily bodily functions that make it really important.
One of the facets of the app is you get to rate the disabled facilities of the venues. And I mean, not only are the venues on the app, you've got your bars, clubs, restaurants, that kind of thing, but we've also got museums, accommodation, hospitals, gyms, all sorts of things. Disabled gyms are becoming more and more popular. The whole mobility revolution, as we like to call it, is starting to gain a bit of traction. And I'd really like Ramped to help with that. For me, it's a big deal. Getting people out there more. More active lifestyle.
So important, and equality as well. In this day and age, there should be no reason why I froze then, didn't I? There should be no reason why we can't access everything. So how have you got this information? Have you just been going and checking out places everywhere time you're in a new town?
What it is when the app, right now the app's in its infancy. So we're using open source information from Google. So every single bar, restaurant, club, venue, anything, if it's listed on Google, it's on our app. And to start with, what you see is the Google rating. So you'll see whether it's a good restaurant or etc. But as soon as somebody using our app rates it, then it's saved on our database. So you can then look at the ratings for the venue and see whether it is wheelchair accessible, how friendly the staff are, and how suitable the facilities are. So it's international. Everywhere there is Google, my app is there.
Amazing. And how many people are using the app so far?
We've had, before, I did a little publicity thing a couple of weeks back again on Facebook, and we'd had a couple of thousand downloads before I did that little publicity thing. I think we're up to like 6,000 downloads or something now. But that was all only on the App Store, so it was only available on iOS previously. But as of today, I've been informed by my app developer that it is actually now live on Google Play as well, so you can use it on Android. It's a pretty big deal.
Congratulations! That's a really good thing to be launching as well. That's really cool. Yeah,
it's quite lucky to be having this chat with you today.
Yeah, and so what could be the future of it? So not just getting people into cool places, but how do you see this growing?
What I really want to do as well is instill a bit more of a sense of community in the disabled community. Try and get people to help each other out and share ideas. We're going to have a forum on the website so that people can have chats and just discuss their problems and maybe help each other out a little bit.
So important. Another thing I've only just started noticing is when it starts affecting your family. And, you know, my mum is, many of you know, really fit and healthy, but she had to have an ankle fusion earlier in the year, and then that stuffed up her knee. And just little things, you know, like mum traveling through the airports, sometimes she'd have no assistance, and
Yeah,
then people would be quite rude. And it makes you realize how much we depend on these services that aren't always easy to find. They're not always that accessible.
yeah,
And so it's not just people that you see with a wheelchair or with, you know, the wheelchair allowance for the special parking. It's people that are in the midst of operations.
yeah,
It's our parents and bosses and guests and, you know, younger people that have temporary disabilities as
yeah.
well. And we don't realise how wide the problem is until we actually really are with someone 24/7 that is being disabled by not just their body but lack of services.
Yeah, no, it's true. And another sort of demographic that I'm kind of aiming for as well is the, you know, people in mobility scooters,
Yeah.
because you know we quite often make fun of them, but to be honest, they're very useful. There are a lot of people, you know, that just go to Walmart and get in one just to go around the aisles, and that's a little bit extreme. But
Mm.
for people who actually need these things, then you know, again, they're a great help. So if you can get more information as to where you can actually get to, then you know that's the goal.
I actually was looking for a festival earlier in the year to take mum to, in England when she was visiting. And it was really interesting going around all the festivals that were on in August, July and
Yeah,
August in the UK. And I only found one, I think it was WOMAD, that I'm happy to, you know,
yeah,
say their name online because
hmm,
they were one of the few that had it really well set up, and they said that they had a disabled camping access. Every disabled person was able to
yeah.
bring a carer,
Wow.
and they had a whole pile of mobility scooters that you could rent
Hmm.
for the day, and, you know, have exchanges and golf carts. And that's when I really started to become aware of how innovative that was, that one
Yeah.
festival was actually taking that leap to, I think they had 500 mobility scooters
Wow.
there for people to use at that event. It's
That's pretty
extraordinary.
impressive.
And
Another,
toilets and showers.
yeah, exactly. Another part of it is, you know, raising awareness. If people are downloading the app, even people that aren't disabled, if they're using it and they see the issues and they can, you know, you don't have to be disabled to rate, you know, if the disabled facilities are good in a certain place. I mean, I have a bar in my village here, Savinia, which has fantastic wheelchair access, great disabled toilets. They even have a lift, a hydraulic lift to get disabled people in and out of the swimming pool. You know, this is a great facility, and to try and raise awareness of places like that, that's, you know, part of the aim as well.
Mm. And I think that's why it's really good for us to be going live to all the yachting crew and people that are interested in yachting, which also involves travel. Because if every one of you that's listening, if you could start every time you go to a new bar in a new country, a new island, you know, if you could just have a little bit of awareness every time you go into the bathroom, think, would someone get in here with a wheelchair?
Hmm.
You know, would we be able to get them in and out? Would there be room for someone to help them if they needed help? How would we get someone up these steps without them having to lift themselves up every single step? And so would you be able to give us some hints on how we can be more aware when we're going into new places so we can start rating them on the app and contribute to the whole ramped movement?
Well, I mean, what you just said actually, that's pretty important. Disabled toilets should not only be big enough to get a wheelchair in, they should be big enough to get a wheelchair and one more person, for example. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and uh, just look at ramped, you know, wheelchair ramps. I saw some this summer in in Montenegro that were pretty terrifying. Actually, they were so steep. I mean, like a 45-degree angle. And if anyone tried to go down there in a wheelchair by themselves, they'd pretty much come unstuck. So just things like that. If you notice it, I'm not into naming and shaming, but if you notice it, you might want to bring it up. But if you see something that's really fantastic, really do point that out. That's more important to me, really, than the naming and shaming.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too. Is like the the vertical degree of the ramp. I know when one of my friends first went into a wheelchair and it was all a bit new. We used to sort of walk down the ramps first because some ramps. I mean, this was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We had to actually be standing in front of the wheelchair, putting weight on it to slow it down because,
Yeah.
as you said, otherwise they just go flying off. And one was outside a bar and the next stop was the ocean. They were into
Yeah.
the port. So, it's worth, even if you're not with someone in a wheelchair or on crutches or needing some assistance, to just walk the ramps yourself and think, just be aware, like, would I be in control? We all know what it's like to push a shopping trolley down a ramp, down an escalator, or carry your bags down escalators in airports and things. So just to build that awareness around, right, they've got the facilities here, but
Yeah.
are they actually okay?
Is
Because
it?
I know working in hospitals, so even some hospitals are built and then you can't get a wheelchair in the showers, and it's
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
who even made this way?
No, it's entirely correct. Just a little bit more awareness on our part, and it'll help a lot. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So we've got bathrooms, access into shopping centres,
Yeah.
clubs, restaurants, etc. Gyms and facilities
Gyms.
for
Yeah.
exercise.
Uh,
Hotels are a big one.
and then you've also got you can actually rate the disabled friendliness of the staff at any of these venues. Sometimes you might have the best
Mm-hmm.
ramps and toilets, etc., available, but if the staff aren't very helpful or downright, unhelpful, then you can also rate that. I mean, again, as I say, it's not about naming and shaming. It's more about giving a real thumbs up to the people that shine out.
Yeah, I think that's really important too because um, I know. I've tried to go into a nightclub before, and my friend that was in a wheelchair wasn't allowed in, and it wasn't from intoxication because they don't drink. But they said it was a fire hazard getting them up the 3 stairs, that we wouldn't be able to get them out. But it kind
Right.
of felt like it was a bit of discrimination, actually, just
Yeah.
because of the wheelchair alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe you'd rather think that sort of thing wasn't happening as much now, though. You'd
yeah,
like to think that.
yeah, for sure. So we can. Do you recommend that everyone download the app so they can start making
Well,
some
please, yeah.
recommendations?
If
Yeah,
uh, if you, I tell you what, I did a post a few weeks back about the app on Facebook. If you send me your details, I'll repost it on your page, and
yeah.
everyone can have a read about it. And then, yeah, please do download it and start using it. Download it, share it, get it out there. The more people use it, the better it'll be.
And it's international. I'm just going to go over a few points so
Yep,
people don't think it's just in Mallorca. So it's international, and you're trying to get it. Is it in every country, or
it's
it's
in
trying
it's
to
in
be?
it's in every single country. Everywhere there's Google, you've got Ramped.
So
Uh,
just remember as well, this could be really useful for women with prams as well, right? Like,
Anything
because
like
this
that,
is
yeah.
yeah, so it's not just for, disabled. You could get some I know when, my friends were having babies and knowing where to go shopping for them
Yep.
was massive. It was all about, if you've got 3 kids and one pram, or two prams next to each other, it's a big thing working out where's pram friendly to be able to get
Yeah,
kids
no, it's
in and
true.
out.
As we say, I mean, you'd think, after your reference to the problem you had in London, you think that
Mm.
in the developed world, it's compulsory to have wheelchair access everywhere, in most of the places we go to. But to be honest, it's just not good enough, and hence, hence we're trying to get some more information out there. And as I say, the more people use it, the more people that download it and use it, the better it'll get.
Can I ask who are, not that we're into naming and shaming,
Hmm.
but on an international level, what countries are leading the way from your observations? Who's really cutting edge?
Well, the Americans are very, very good. The
Uh
Americans, the
huh.
Brits, even most of the European countries are very, very good. They really are. But then you've got difficult places like if you want to go to the old town of Palma, for example, it can be pretty tough. All the cobbled streets and funny curbs, not even, and that kind of thing. So I would say the States and the UK, Australia, all very, very good, and most of developed Europe. I mean, the Germans are fantastic at that sort of thing. So they're all good. I'm not going to tell you the bad ones. We know where they are in the Caribbean, for example, which is where I'm from. So
yeah, awesome. Fantastic. Is there anything else you want to add? Is there any other way? Do you need like I don't know if you want to talk about this, but just out of interest, from my awareness, you've self-funded this, right?
Yes,
this is
I
all
have.
you. Yeah. And so to grow bigger and to get it more, globally accessed, do you need investors, or how are you planning on taking this forward, or is this just a hobby of yours?
No, I mean, ideally, to take this forward, I'd like somebody now to come in and buy a good portion of the company off me. It's cost me over 30,000 running, so it hasn't been cheap. And if someone wanted to come in and buy the lion's share of the company going forward, then that's the way I'd like to see it. I need somebody to come in and run it now, because the bigger it gets, it's going to need full-time administration. And as we discussed earlier, I have a job, so I really would like to see it get big, and I'd like to see somebody else take it forward.
So you need an administrator to do the daily running. That would probably end up being 3 or 4 jobs, wasn't it? By the time you have a proper publicist and social media marketer, and then the administrator running the whole thing. And do you think in the future you'd end up with like a ideally 24/7 Q&A thing that people could,
almost like a concierge service, possibly.
Nice.
It just depends how big it gets, and it'll only get bigger if people start downloading it and using it. So that's all I'll say. If we start using it, it'll get better, and then we'll get more interest, and then hopefully, as I say, someone will come and invest, and we can start really publicizing the thing, because I don't have the funds left now to go and do a big publicity campaign.
Yeah. Amazing. So let's all get behind Ramped. It's really, really cool. And personally, if you don't really get how important this is, I say to all my students that I think, how some countries have compulsory military service. I think, that in the Western world at least, everyone should spend a week in hospital, being rolled, being toileted in bed, being washed. They should all spend at least a week in a wheelchair, a week in crutches, a week being disabled, to understand how debilitating mentally, physically and emotionally this is. And then to actually get out of that space and become independent, and then have these problems you face every minute of the day. Like, I don't know. I know how hard it is when I get lost in a big city driving a car, and I'm an able-bodied person, and suddenly I really need to go to the bathroom or something. We've all been there. Imagine what it's like if you've got to get out of the car and into the wheelchair and into the building, and then you get to the bathroom, you can't fit in there. And you're desperate, So if you don't know someone that you can talk to about this, or you haven't experienced, just put yourself in their shoes. Just for a moment today. Every time you enter a bathroom, every time you need to go to the bathroom, every time you go up some steps, every time you go to the gym or a bar, just imagine what it would be like if you're in a wheelchair, and then just click on Ramped and give them your feedback, because you could really make an impact in someone's life by just giving that tiny bit of information when you're just at a gym or just at, the supermarket, right?
Yeah, well, that's the idea. As I said, get it downloaded and start using it. It'll only make it better for the people that need it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kev. It's been really, really good to have you on board. We're going to put the publicity article that you wrote recently and a link to the app, if that's possible, underneath this live feed in International Yachting Radio, and then we'll put that on the YouTube episode as well. And if anyone needs to, find out any more information, then you can contact one of us and get in touch with Kev if that's all right.
That'd
And
be
then
great.
soon, hopefully, his publicist. And if anyone's really excited about what we're talking about and would like to make a small investment, or do you take donations at the moment, or?
I have been thinking about a GoFundMe page to start the publicity program. As I say, I've put 30 grand of my own money in this already, and I've been very, very happy to do it. But now we need the publicity going, so I might be asking for some help for that.
Let's do it. Let's all get behind this amazing project. If every single person listening could just put in 10 euros or 100 or 100,000, whatever is manageable for you, say like 10% of what you earn this week, that would make
Sure.
such a difference to so many disabled people's lives and their families and friends. So, and this amazing cause. It's, everyone should take a leaf out of Kevin's book and think about how we can make a global impact and make a difference for other people. It's not just about us sailing around the world in our nice boats. It's how we can give back. And that's why I really wanted you on the show, because what you've done is so inspiring. And thank you from everyone, such a great role model for yachting, for people in general. And we should all be more like Kevin and think about other people.
You're far too kind, I'm sure. Thank you very much, Amanda.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Check out the links below and get ramped today. That sounds cool. Get ramped today.